जय गुरु जी। महाराज का हुक्म था मुझको कि मैंने अपना सत्संग 1000 बार सुनाना है। जब भी मैं गुरु जी के यहाँ जाता था, मंदिर में या जहाँ भी गुरु जी होते थे, तो गुरु जी हर बार मुझसे सत्संग करवाते थे। और मैंने एक बार गुरु जी से पूछा कि गुरु जी आप मुझसे हर बार सत्संग क्यों करवाते हो? तो गुरु जी ने तब मेरे को कहा कि चोपड़ा 1000 बार सत्संग सुनाना है तूने। So I have a long way to go, and I have maybe finished some 250 to 60, I don't know how much times narrating my satsang. But you know, I feel blessed that Guruji gave me such an order that I have to narrate my satsang 1000 times. Every time one narrates a satsang, it is a blessing not only to him, but to everybody who is listening to that satsang. In 1995, I had hepatitis B. मुझे hepatitis B हो गया था. Hepatitis B का तब भी कोई इलाज नहीं था, आज भी कोई इलाज नहीं है. हाँ, of course प्रिवेंटिव चीजें शुरू हो चुकी हैं hepatitis B की. मेरा जो अटैक था वो बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग अटैक था. मेरा bilirubin count had gone up to 22 and it was remaining at 22. And we all know that anytime the count goes above 12, then there is a risk to life. I was being treated by R&R hospital, which is one of the big good hospitals of the country. And doctors had put me on DI list. DI list is dangerously ill. Dangerously ill means any time it could be over for you. So, you know, under these circumstances, the doctors told me that, sir, you look for whatever alternate therapies that you can think of. And मैंने हर तरह की alternate therapy शुरू की. That included color therapy, magnet therapy, some Ayurveda, homeopathy, some Kerala Hazardana. I started putting a mala in my neck. I sort of did everything that could save me my life. But nothing was changing. And being 1 month at 22 count was a little scary. So those days, Guruji had just come to Delhi for the first time. And in Greater Kailash, in the basement, is where Guruji used to, had created a little temple. And one of the senior officers' wives, who was connected with Guruji from Jalandhar, she was in close touch with me. Her husband was an air marshal, and she herself was a doctor. And she knew my case, and she came and told me, he says, एक गुरुजी आए, तू गुरुजी के पास जाएगा? I said, जाऊंगा. तो उन्होंने कहा, आज शाम को जाएंगे. मैंने कहा, ठीक है, आज शाम को जाएंगे. वो बोली, मैं अपनी स्टाफ कार में आऊंगी, आपको पिकअप करूंगी शाम को 8, साढ़े 8 बजे, और फिर हम गुरुजी के यहाँ जाएंगे और बस जाके पाँव छू देना. मैंने कहा, ठीक है. So she came, and I accompanied her to Greater Kailash. And in the basement, I walked down those few 6-7 steps, and right in front sitting was Guruji in his Singhasan, and numbers were very small that time. And I was making a direct eye contact with Guruji. I went and touched his feet, and he put his hand on my head, and he said, Chopra, tenu theek kar deta. You are cured. I was very touched that I have just come in. First time, my total contact with him has been of less than a minute, and I have touched his feet, and he has said, tenu theek kar deta. Now, when you have hepatitis B, your body state is very weak, and doctors advise you not to move. In fact, the doctor's advice to me was that not to leave my bed, leave alone, leave my room. And here I had traveled nearly 15 kilometers from Subroto Park to, Greater Kailash to get these blessings. So Guruji told me, Bhajan, sit down. So I sat down. I sat next to a wall because I wanted to rest my back. And about few minutes later, Guruji ordered and started making Amrit. So Amrit used to be in a steel tumbler, a steel glass, in which water used to be brought by the, sevadars, and Guruji would put a sandalwood mala in it and say some prayers, and this would become Amrit. So Guruji handed over one glass of Amrit to me, and then he kept making Amrit and giving to different people. But the moment I would finish my glass, he would give me another one. And finally, he gave me 8 glasses of Amrit. Now, a glass or a tumbler is around 250 ml, which is not a small amount. And we all know some of us who drink water early in the morning, it's not easy to drink so much of water. So 8 tumblers of 250 ml, I was given, and I drank them. And you won't believe it, I could physically do it. Little later, the langar was being served. The doctor who was sitting next to me, she told me that this langar has got desi ghee in it, and desi ghee is not permitted for a person who has got, hepatitis B, but you take your call. I said, yes, I will take the call. And I took the langar when it was being served to me. I started eating it, and Guruji came and stood next to me. Moment I finished, normally you get about 2 chapati in the langar. Moment I finished my second chapati, Guruji, those days the langar used to be 1-to-1 in the sense that there was nobody sharing. Nowadays we share, 4 of us share it. But that time it was 1-to-1. And so Guruji handed over one more chapati, and I could see the desi ghee on the chapati, and I took it and ate it. After that, Guruji said, "Hun ja, fauji aadmi hai, test kara ke aaye." So he said, "Now you go." I went. Next morning, I asked them to do a test for me. They did a test, and Guruji said that parson aaye, day after be here. So when I gave the blood for test next morning, and 24 hours later the result came, you won't believe it, my bilirubin count had come down steeply. I said, my God, this is wonder. This is God. So that evening when I went, first day my wife had not gone, in the car, but this time my wife also went. And when she walked in, before even talking to me, Guruji called her by her name. He said, "Suman auntie, aa gayi hain. Us din nahi aayi sigi. Chal teri main file khol deta hu." That means let me tell you about yourself. And then he narrated some 10-12 things about her, which normally an outsider would not know. So everything that Guruji said about her was absolutely correct. Now, that was the second moment for me to realize that there is something here which is out of the ordinary, which is, spiritual, which is, has some more powers. Here is a person whom I'm standing next to. So Guruji thereafter asked me, and I told them, Guruji, my bilirubin count has come down. He said, "Dekhi chal Chopra, haje ki hona hai. Mother, just watch what more is going to happen to you." I was extremely blessed. And to cut this part short, because this is a long part, and so many more satsangs I have to narrate. So I must tell you that my bilirubin count kept coming down quickly, and every few days he would call me, he would order. He said, "Okay, you will come on so-and-so day. So you have to come only on that day." And then one day, Guruji told me, he says, "Hun tera bilirubin count kinna hai?" मैं कहा, "Sir, hun 4.2 hai." He said, अगली बार 3 होएगा. मैं कहा नहीं गुरुजी इतनी तेजी से उतर रहा है, अगली बार 1 पे आ जाएगा. तो he said, नहीं नहीं कोई गल नहीं, टेस्ट करा क्या. And you won't believe it, when I went for the test, it was 3. I mean, see, I mean, we are all educated people who believe in science, who believe in, modern medicine. We believe in all this. It was actually 3. I'm sort of, I'm just telling you what actually happened. So I said, my God, this is too much for somebody to sell. What will be my bilirubin count, which is going to be medically tested. So it happened to be 3. Okay, so I will leave this. Thereafter, I became all right. My bilirubin, that positive became negative, and whatever was supposed to happen, everything happened thereafter. Those days, one major general was also coming to Guruji. I have to narrate this story, though this story, Satsang, would have been heard by many people in the past, but I have to narrate it because I found it very, very exciting. This major general, I was then a colonel equivalent, a group captain. He was a major general. And he had come to Guruji. How? I will tell you. He had gone for his annual medical to the R&R, which used to be in Delhi Kent those days, in where base hospital is now. And there, the doctors in his annual medical said that you have got, ECG problem. There is a severe blockage in your heart. There is a need for you to have some more advanced tests done. And he was advised to go to Escort Hospital, which had just been opened recently in those days by Dr. Trehan. And in that hospital, when he did the test, they said, you have got all the 3 arteries fully blocked. Blocked means more than 50% blockage. And you will have to go for an operation. He got extremely worried. Those days, bypass was still a relatively newer thing, and he was very scared. But anyway, he had no choice. Indian Army or the government of India used to give 1,40,000 rupees those days for getting your bypass done for a person who was in military. So that money he was given, and he deposited that money, and they gave a 1 week's appointment to come. Now, during this 1 week, all his relatives from different cities had gathered in Noida to be with him because they all were very worried that he has got to go through a bypass. Those days, somebody told him, "Ek Guruji aaye." There is a Guruji, why don't you go there? He said, Major General, he said, you guys are mad. Oh, you think I will go to a Guru? I mean, the doctors into the R&R and escorts have told me I've got a full blockage. No way I'm going to do it. Days passed, discussions at home. Second day, then somebody said, Guruji is not taking any bakshis. You are not to put some money there. There is nothing. Just take a chance. In any case, you are sitting at home. You have to wait for another 5 days. So he, along with some family members, comes to Guruji and tells, he says, a blockage and all that. And then Guruji blesses him. Guruji took him to the chamber. I had not yet come on this day. Put the leaves, pan ke patte on his chest, did some prayers and let him lie there for a few minutes. And thereafter, about 10-12 minutes, then he said, okay, Guruji said, "Hun tusi jao, toada blockage khatam. There is no blockage you have got." Now, he said, how can I believe this? So just putting some pan ka patta on my chest for 10-15 minutes, my blockage is gone. So he said, Guruji, theek hai, agar tusi kehde ho. Guruji said, nahi, tu major general hai, senior officer hai army da, jaake test kara. Te agar blockage nikle aaya, te operation kara li. Te agar nahi nikla, te Guruji de bhagat ban jayi. So he goes back. Now, again, there is confusion in his mind and the family. With what logic will they go to the R&R or to the Escort Hospital to say, do our test again? Because 2 very big agencies have done a test. So they go back to Escorts. Family says, okay. So the Escort people said that you are being foolish. But anyway, 10,000 is the cost for the test. If you are willing to pay, we will do the test again. He said, okay, I will pay. So he pays those 10,000 and then we check the blockage and there is zero blockage. Oh, this is actually zero blockage. So now those guys are confused. How did it happen? And then he tells the story about Guruji, and who is listening to this story is Dr. Trehan. Next day, Dr. Trehan with the Major General and some other doctors comes to Guruji. And that is the day I have also arrived. So that is the time I'm told that this is the story while I'm resting with my back on the wall. And and thereafter I met Dr. Trehan repeatedly coming to Guruji, and many doctors used to come. This man, they did not take those 10,000. Escort said, no, those 10,000 we return you back. He returned that 1,40,000 to the army. The army cleared him for the medical for that year. And whatever happened in his career moved on. Okay, now let me take you to a different story. Again, back to myself. Since I was a pilot, I was a fighter pilot, and my other colleagues, one or two of them who used to come to Guruji, one of them was a transport pilot who was commanding one of the flights of the communication, the VVIP squadron. So he told me one day, he says, Guruji de chaliye, Guruji Jalandhar hai. मैंने कहा हाँ, good idea, चलो गुरुजी के पास जलंधर चलते हैं. So we said कि I have to do some training flights. We'll arrange a training flight to go from here to Jalandhar, to Adampur, which is near Jalandhar, and thereafter we will go quickly, meet Guruji, take his blessings and come back in the evening. So in the meanwhile, we also, through some Sevadat, sent a message to Guruji, Guruji, we are coming. We are coming like this by a flight. We are going to be there for a few hours and we are coming. So that morning we went to the aircraft. It was winters. There was heavy fog and we could not take off. Instead of 8 o'clock, we took off around 1 o'clock. Meanwhile, to the Sangat, Guruji had told in the morning, Aj Chopra uncle and one more, they are coming. And they are coming by aircraft. So, Sangat there was, everybody was getting excited that two pilots are going to come like this by aircraft to meet Guruji, take his blessing. But nobody knew what we were going through. We were sitting in the cockpit and the visibility was very low. Finally, we took off at 1 o'clock. At 2:15, we landed in Adampur, took a car, went to Guruji. Finally, we reached Guruji's ashram in Model Town in Jalandhar. The defense colony, Model Town border. And then when we went, we reached at 3:45. Guruji was taking rest in his chamber. So very few Sangat was there that time, 6-8 people only at that time, because the people would start coming again at around 5 o'clock in the evening. So Guruji, this Sangat told me, oh, tusi kaun ho? Tusi Chopra, or he told the other person's name. Guruji ji ta saber diyan todiyan gallan kar rahe. Guruji is talking about you since morning. I felt very guilty that Guruji has been talking about us and we have come late. But we knew it is beyond our control. So 4:15, 4:30, Guruji came out of the chair. Now Guruji आ गए, इतनी लेट आए, की हो गया? Weather खराब, मैंने सब पता है. We kept quiet. We said, Guruji, we touched his feet, took his blessings. Now, the base commander in Adampur had told us that for you to go back, you must take off by 6 o'clock. Otherwise, at night, we will not let you take off. So we knew that if we have to take off at 6 o'clock, we must leave Guruji's ashram at 5 in the evening. So around 5 to 5, I started looking at my watch. Guruji was watching me. Guruji said, Karyana dekho, don't look at your watch. You are not going back so early. We said, Guruji, as you wish. We just, we will be there. So time passed, the chai prasad and some other sweets and whatever was happening. So finally it was 8 o'clock. So Guruji said, Jao, hun tusi jao. I said, Guruji, hun asi kite nahi jana. we will stay here now the whole night because we can't go back to Delhi. We will go and take off only tomorrow morning. You leave us and we will be with you. He said, nahi, tusi jao. I said, order is order. So what he did is, somebody asked one of the Sevadars, 4 boxes of sweets, 2 for me, 2 for the other officer, and one sari for our wives. He pulled out and gave it to us. This is the blessings for the family. We accepted that, headed for Adampur. We reached Adampur at 9:15 or so. And there we see the base commander is standing. He says, all of a sudden, some orders have come from Delhi that we are to do night flight. So the night flying has been clear. If you all wish, you can leave now. So finally, at around 10 o'clock or so, we took off. 11ish, we landed in Palam in Delhi, and we were home by another 15-20 minutes. Guruji knew that when he was giving us this order to leave at 8 o'clock, that he had fixed up our departure back to Delhi that evening. Now, see, I am trying to show you multi-facets of Guruji's blessings. Now, back to Delhi. We all know a lot of VIPs, so-called VIPs. I don't believe anybody is a VIP in this world. They used to come to Guruji. Guruji made me sit with most of them. If I was there that day, and asked me to tell stories. He says, Guruji used to say, "Inanu kahaniyan suna." Kahaniyan meant apni, matlab satsang suna. Basically, that was what it meant. So I met Mayawati. I met T.N. Seshan. T.N. Seshan is the kind of person who would hardly ever go to a guru. We all know he was election commissioner, a very powerful bureaucrat. I met Bhajan Lal, I met V.P. Singh, and I found each one of them was a character in his own self. But on the orders of Guruji, I had to narrate stories to them. That means satsangs. And when Mayawati came, she had some escorts. Of course, they were told to wait outside. And Guruji said, Mayawati auntie nu chamber chale ja, te kahaniyan suna. So I took her to the chamber, just 2 of us. She ordered for a special cushion because she could not sit on the ground. And then he says, why has Guruji told you to, she asked me, to tell you stories. I said, I don't know. This is the order. He's given me an order. I'm executing it. He's asked you to listen. You kindly listen. So I told her satsang. But I could see in her eyes, she was not very convinced what was going on around. So I tried to scientifically explain how Guru's powers work. Now, I will not go into those details because there's a little bit of philosophy, because I am very clear there is a power, seeing you all on the screen right now. I'm already getting a pleasure seeing some of the faces, So that's an indication that in our lives, when we meet people, sometimes you instantly like them, sometimes you instantly don't like them, though the other person has done nothing, he has not spoken a word, So there is some transmission going on, and this super people like Guruji, they have some energy to give us. More about this as we, go along. Guruji was very extremely considerate. I was posted abroad in Russia for 4.5 years, and I used to come once in a year and a half or something like that to India those days. And when I used to come to Guruji, he said, Guruji, kinne der liye aaya? I said, for 1 week. He says, ki karenga? Main kya, sir, kudi da college admission karana hai. So he said, Guruji said, haan, mainu pata hai. Tu sirf 2 baar aana mere kol. Baki sara time bachchi de utte lana hai. Means he would be very considerate. He will tell a Fauji that tu 3 din baad aayi, baki 2 din whiskey pee. Means other 2 days you must drink your whiskey So you come only once in 3 days to me. You know, Guruji would look into each and everyone's, he was extremely considerate. Even if he knew that a lady was coming alone and she has to go back at night, he will make sure that she is properly escorted and that she will be safe. Because those days, some of these roads this Gurgaon, Mehrauli road was not so, brightly lit, etc. One day, one lady, her name was Deepika. I did not know her. She was sitting somewhere nearby. She went to Guruji at around 10 o'clock, touched his feet. Guruji, mainu hun jana hai. Guruji said, nahi, haje nahi jana. A Chopra nal baith, gappa maro. So she came and sat next to me. So I didn't know who she was, nor did she know who she was. So she took the initiative. She was smarter of the two. So she took the initiative and she said, आप कहाँ से हो? मैंने कहा, मैं पंजाब से हूँ. Before that, she asked me my name. I asked her name. And she says, which place in Punjab? I said, Kapurthala. She says, Kapurthala? Kapurthala तो मेरी बहन रहती है. I said, your sister. मैं कहा, what's her name? She gave me the name. And that was my mother. That lady's name she gave was my mother. She was the first cousin of my mother. Now, I had never met her. I did not know her. And she is the first cousin of my mother. Now, I'll take you a flashback. When I was in class 6, I and my mother had gone for a holiday to one of our aunts in Patna. And from there, we went to Calcutta. In Calcutta, we lived in a house. In that house, I was a small boy, but my mother and the cousins and various people used to chat. So I overheard a name called Gogo. I said, Gogo, and after that, that's over. All my life, I used to keep thinking that they were talking some very nice things about a girl called Gogo. And you know who that girl Gogo was? She was the one sitting next to me that day in Guruji's. You know, what I'm getting at is, what a way of Guruji connecting you to people. And you won't believe it, after that, Deepika, or her pet name Gogo, she became like a family to us. She looked after my daughters when I was abroad. My wife and I were abroad. She was outside. Even today, we love her for the person she is. Okay. I used to ask Guruji that, you treat some people very, very quickly, like you treated me or blessed me. There are many who are hanging around here for years, but, it appears they are not satisfied yet with the amount of blessings they would like to have. So then Guruji explained. I used to have a lot of conversations with Guruji, chota conversations, and he used to enjoy talking. Of course, it used to be in Punjabi. He said, jo Guru hai na, he is like a radar antenna. He says, Guru is transmitting energy. It's going to you. You're reflecting it back. If the Guru finds that the reflected energy is good, that means you are receptive, then that person gets cured very quickly. So now, he said, the day you walked in that 1 minute of your walking into that basement and you're walking to me, I knew that you're 100% ready to receive my energy. And therefore, you got instant blessings. Touch wood. Guruji was so kind. He used to many times make me sit with some big industrialists who have routine problems of old age, heavyweight, knees problems, some sugar, etc. And Guruji would say, explain to them. Now, let me explain this system of Guruji. Guruji used to say, many of these people come and they want the Guru to use a magic wand and say, Sab kuch theek aata. But they themselves are not ready, like the Major General or like me or like many others, to be fully receptive to Guruji's blessings. So he said, This is again a small story which Guruji narrated to me. He said, "Jis vele tonu taklif hundi hai, when you have a problem, you open your medicine box in the house and take a Disprin or whatever, aspirin or whatever you want to cure your headache. After 2 days, the headache doesn't cure. You call up your, your physician, who's your family physician, and ask him. He gives you, ye dawai try kar lo, and then you try for 2-3 days. Nothing happens. Then you visit a doctor, general practitioner. Then general practitioner tells you try this. He gives you a list of tests. You go and do those tests. You come back. Then he says, "Nee, I think you need to go to a specialist." So you go to a specialist. You fix up an appointment. 4 days later, you go there. Then you sit in the queue outside because appointments are falling behind schedule, etc., etc. Then you go. Like that. Then you go through an operation. He says, all this takes 5-6 months and it fails. Then you come to Guru. You come to a Guru when this whole sequence of events have taken place. And when you come to Guru, there is no appointment. There is no money. There is Chai Prasad, which is free. There is Langar Prasad, which is free. There are blessings, which are free. There is Bhajans, which are free. Everything is free and at your pace. And yet you want instant magic wand of the Guru. So, therefore, he says, after you have failed everywhere, then only you are coming to Guru. And when you come to Guru, have patience just to take blessings. And even if Guruji is moved on in life, when we are going to a Mandir, or you have got pictures, you can see there. In our house, every room has a Guruji's picture. There is a blessing. The thought of Guruji in your mind itself is also giving you blessings. So there are ways of taking these, blessings from Guruji. Sometimes Guruji would ask me to press his feet. He would ask many people to press his feet, or somebody to press his shoulders or arms or hands. Okay. My daughters and my wife used to be very jealous. They said, "Guruji is asking you to press his feet. How come he never asked any one of us to press his feet? Because we love to press Guruji's feet." Then I asked Guruji this. I said, "Guruji, aap mere se paun dubate ho. You never, so many others you have not invited. But of course, there are many more who you invite much more than me also to press the feet." He said, "Mainu pata hai kinu meri energy di zyada zarurat hai." He knows who all need more energy. And he is calling only those people to press the feet, shoulders or whatever, who need. And he said that every time I'm transferring energy, I'm losing energy. See, he said that it's a balance. For you to receive energy, I must transmit and lose energy. So I'm getting consumed. It's like the electrical system of his is getting, Once a family had come, some royal family from Rajasthan, some lady with 3 daughters, and Guruji asked me to take them to the chamber, tell them stories, and I took them to the chamber, told them some stories. But before I could do much of storytelling, Guruji himself arrived in the chamber, and Guruji said, "Eco de result aage tere?" He asked one of the daughters that your eco honors results have come. The daughter said, "Guruji, aaye nahi hai, aan wale hai." She was in the final year of eco honors. Guruji ne kaha, "Main huni tera result kar dena hai." So he said, asked her 3 questions of syllabi of the previous year, eco honors of the previous year, that is second year. She could not answer a single of the 3 questions. But she acknowledged that all those 3 questions were of the previous year's syllabus. So Guruji was not just talking Punjabi and doing some blessing. There was so much more to it. And Guruji answered, and he said answers of all those 3 things to her and asked her if they were correct, and actually they were Correct. So I'm trying to tell you another facet of Guruji, which, or I'm telling you only those things where I'm an eyewitness. So this lady, Guruji was very fond of doctors and Fauji. He was very clear on this. I asked him this. I said, Guruji, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫੌਜੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਇੰਨੇ मतलब ਕਿਨੋਂ blessing ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਿਉਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ मेरी blessing लेने के लिए heart has to be pure. कहते जो फौजी है ना उसको young age पे ही उन्होंने ट्रेनिंग के अंदर ही उसको इतना डिसिप्लिन बना दिया कि उसका दिल साफ. So he said that is why the Fauji's get blessed faster because they are more ready to get blessed. That was his term for it. And he says, initially doctors come to test me, to test Guruji. But ultimately the doctors who stay on with me are the people who get convinced that there is much more to healing than just pure modern medicine. Many doctors in this world who are high top-end doctors, they are going to alternate healing for their own selves or for their own family because there are other means to heal which are no less and which also have scientific, backing. Guruji used to, in those days, in the days of Empire State, and also to some extent during Greater Kailash, he used to have late night sessions. Now, after the langar was over, he would let go most of the people, some 15, 20, 30 people would get left. And I was touch wood, blessed that I happened to attend many of these late night sessions, which will carry on till 1, 2 o'clock, where Guruji could speak a little more freely with everybody, share his thoughts or listen to people or get somebody to sing a song, get somebody to dance. Some additional food would come later on, some more coffee, some pakoras, sometime even at 1 o'clock they'll serve some parathas or something like that. So I thought I must tell you a little bit about this side of Guruji, that there used to be, this type of free sort of interaction, but all this interaction was blessings. This is another way of, getting blessings. Once a lady came, she was around 84, 85 years, living in Greater Kailash. She walked into the, to Guruji in that basement in Greater Kailash. Guruji, gode bahut dukhde hai. Guruji said, Acha, Amritwani padhni hai? She says, no. The Gurvani padhni hai? She says, no. Ombur Bhasa de bol lehengi? Kendi, nahi, mainu nahi aanda. उन्होंने क्या है 85 इयर्स एज के ऊपर अब गोडे नहीं दुखेंगे तो आप सीधा गुरु के पास आ गई हो भैया कुछ तो कभी पूजा पाजा कर लो अगरबत्ती जला लो कुछ घर के अंदर कुछ पाठ कर लो Guruji was sending a signal to her that I'm not a compounder, I'm not a chemist that you come गोडे दुखदे कोई दवाई दे दो. Guruji was sending a signal to her and through her to everybody around that come on, get going in life. Don't just walk up to a guru. Just quietly sit and listen to bhajans. Don't get into this, at 85, these are damn good. You're either a Fauji or you're a very active sportsman or something like that. So don't, So again, he was, because we belong to Punjab, my father was in Kapurthala, he was a little fond of our family, he was also fond of me because he had blessed me, etc., etc. Once he was in Jalandhar and my father and mother and my brothers, they all came. In fact, one of my nephew's name was also Guruji nahi rakha tha uska naam. And he told my father, Chopra, tera 1 crore rupaye da munda bachata hai. Kuch marle de de. Marle is that, piece of land, it's a measure of land, it's around 180 square feet of land is a marla in Punjab. Now, my father never understood what Guruji was conveying, he was saying in Punjabi, of course we all understood Punjabi. He went home and then just forgot about it. What Guruji was implying was that I have done, means jo 1 crore ka ladka tera bacha diya, kuch matlab daan de do, marle de do means actually, but my father thought that perhaps he's asking some land for himself, for Guruji. My father never understood the intricacies of the language of Guruji. Won't believe it. My father was an industrialist, had a lot of properties. But 6 months later, his business started failing. And slowly, he lost every marla of his life. Every square inch of his property he lost, my father. We loved him, we respected him. He was the captain of the Indian basketball team in the first Asian Games. He was, very respected person otherwise. But somehow the business failed. We don't know why, and businesses can fail for anybody. But Guruji told us, the sons, make sure that his lifestyle till the last day of his life is as good as it is today. Means if he has got 5 servants in the house, till the last day he'll have 5 servants. If he's got, he's using, copiously his air conditioning, he must use it. If he's having a good whiskey, he must drink for the rest of his life the same whiskey, etc., etc., etc. And touch wood, our father lived that kind of a life for remaining years of his life, which was after the business collapse, he lived for another 15 years or so, whatever. So Guruji had, his way of, Now, just 1 or 2 more satsang, because I was originally given half an hour, but later on, Auntie told me, "Nahi, you must carry on for at least an hour." So I'm going to be for a few more minutes. Because I believe that sometimes there is a fatigue which sets in when you are listening to long satsangs. And, because of blessings of Guruji, and he was monitoring all my promotions in service, I became an Air Marshal in the Air Force. And I continue to fly even as an Air Marshal. And one day, on 24th February 2012, that was my last year of service, I was flying a Mirage 2000 in Gwalior. And when we reached a height of 11,000 feet, there was a big bang in the aircraft. Our engine broke into pieces. Mirage 2000 has a single engine. And when that engine broke, now we did not know it had broken, but we tried to restart it, it wouldn't start, but we could make out from the various gauges that it has ground to a halt. And we have no choice but to eject. I was 59 years and 2 months old. Most people who eject from a fighter aircraft at age of 40 and above, they have some spinal or neck injury, which some of them may have to suffer for a long time. And spine and neck are very important to our body because, we all understand. So, in those 15-20 seconds, of course, we were quickly preparing ourselves to get out of the aircraft, to tighten our straps, to see that we are fully ready for the ejection. I told myself in the heart, Guruji, it is your test and my test. Your test for blessings, my test for years of military training. I hope we both will not fail each other. This is the thought which came in my mind, and I pulled the ejection handle. And, when you pull the ejection handle, the seats get fired with 19 rockets fired within a period of less than 2 seconds. And they all fire in a sequence of decimals of seconds. 19 of them in less than 2 seconds. And at 2.5 seconds, your parachute is open and you are blessed. So, in that 2.5 seconds, your body goes through such a terrible shock. You pull 27, 28 Gs, etc., etc. And when the parachute opens, you say, "Oh God, thank you, thank you, thank you." And I am sitting straight in front of you today. straighter than many of the people who are watching me. And it was Guruji's, blessing that at this age, 59 years, 2 months, the only air marshal in the world to have ever ejected from a fighter aircraft. Okay, so again, I have narrated you, a lot of little stories about Guruji's power, Guruji's hand on our head, Guruji's hand on our back, Guruji's support. And I repeat, blessings are always, every time that we are thinking. I can see lots of lovely pictures of Guruji behind Dhirja auntie and the various arrangements you people, and of many others. And you can see Guruji's picture behind me. Yes. And have Guruji in your thoughts, Guruji's Swarup in your house, picture at home, attending satsangs, listening to satsangs. In the last month, I have been blessed that I have been called again and again to do my satsang by different, people. Listen to Guruji's bhajans that you listen in Mandir at home. We all have music. It's on the YouTube. It's on the net. We all have CDs or pen drives. And, even when you make chai at home, have blessings of Guruji to make it chai prasad, out of that. And one-to-one contact is the starting point. As I said, my first day with Guruji was a one-to-one contact. And for all of us to get blessed, when I go to the Bada Mandir, I keep looking at Guruji's Swarup and look straight into his eyes. Most of the time that I am sitting in the Mandir, I'm looking into his eyes because I am forcing Guruji, give me your blessings. There used to be one Supreme Court lawyer who was a big bhagat of Guruji. Those days in 1995, I remember, Guruji, tode to main blessings kho leni hai. I am going to extract blessings from you. Main aisa bhagat banne wala hu that I am going to get blessings out of you. That is the kind of devotion with which, we need to connect. Once again, I want to thank all of you to be so patiently listening.